G'day, welcome to the video on how to polish the Baxter patent leather parade boot. In this video I'll demonstrate procedure and technique on how to properly care for and polish your patent leather parade boot. First we will start with the basic requirements before moving through the 3 steps of shine and finally conclude with a few slides to highlight care and storage. Okay, firstly we'll start with the equipment that we'll use to commence polishing on these boots. First of all, we have an aerosol furniture polish. In this case, please, you can use other types like Mr. Sheen works just as well. A Windex, glass cleaner, or even just a spray bottle with some ordinary tap water in it. We have patent leather dedicated polish, shoe polish, toothbrush, black marker, and a polish on cloth and a polish off cloth. You can also use the yellow cloth here. That's basically the equipment we'll need. We'll go on with the first couple of steps. Right, the first thing we'll do before we actually commence any cleaning of the boot is just to prepare our workspace, and in this instance we've placed an old towel down on the table that we're about to use for our workspace. And also the other thing is make sure you don't actually polish, use a chair as a spot to polish this, because what you'll find is all the residue, the chemicals, the boot polish will actually end up on the chair. You sit down on it, polish goes everywhere on your uniform, so move away from that. In this instance, if you look at the boots at the moment, you can see that they're quite dusty and they need a little bit of a clean, so we'll move on to step 1. These are actually nice and dry, so they're ready to go. If they were damp, you'd actually let them dry out before you commenced any work on it. So here we go with step 1, is actually doing some... Okay, moving on to step 1, the equipment that we use for step 1 is some shoe polish, our polish off and on cloth, our toothbrush, our marker pen, and either water in a spray bottle or Windex. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to go through and clean the welts of the boot, which is this part here on the side, and then also concentrate on the Baxter boots anyway. They have a metal plate here, and as you can see it's starting to show the metal through. So what we're going to do is grab the pen, the marker pen, and just go over the etched outline there to make sure it's all black, and any spots on the boot when you get them when they're new, so all the stitching in through here, you just go through and with the marker pen and black them all out so they're nice and black. So we'll go through and do that now. So simply just grab the toothbrush, roll some polish onto it, and you go through and do the whole boot like such. The toothbrush is very good for getting into the instep as well. So what I'll do now is I'll go through and do the whole boot, then I'll bring it back. Okay, we've finished doing the welts and they've come up quite well. So what we'll do now is go on with actually using the Windex and the on cloth to spray the Windex on and buff up the shoe. So we've undone the laces so we can get into the tongue of the boot. That's actually coated painted leather as well. So I'll make sure that we can get into that. So just a matter of taking the Windex and using our cloth. Just going through and wiping all the Windex off. It's important to get all of it off so it doesn't streak, and then work your way around the shoe. And you can see just by doing that, okay, it brings it up nice. So what I'll do is I'll just go through and do the entire boot, and I'll bring you back and show you what it actually looks like as a... Okay, here we are back. We've just finished cleaning the right hand boot with the Windex and rag, and just for an inspection, that's pretty good. A lot of people stop at that step and don't move on. If you want to provide an extra coat or extra 1 level protection to your boot, we'll go on and use the aerosol furniture polish. And just from using the Windex, you can see the difference between the boot that we haven't touched and the boot that we have. So we'll go on with the next step, which is actually using the aerosol. So give it a shake. Just spray it on different areas of the boot. Okay, and just move it in with your hand, with your finger. Just let it sit there for a couple of seconds. Then using your on polish cloth, just go over that and just do the toe, and then I'll do the rest of the boot and bring you back and show you the rest of it. Just polishing that off. Just worked it around with that polish. Okay, and then we'll give it a buff with our clean cloth, our off cloth. Alright, and that's given a really good shine actually, so it's much better than just stopping there at the Windex. You're actually providing a nice, really good shine. It's coming up really well. Right, so just on the toe, I'll go through and do the remainder of the boot and come back and show you. Okay, here we are back. We've just finished buffing off the right hand Baxter boot with the Pledge furniture polish. So you can see it's come up really well. Good value, didn't take long to do it all, as opposed to the old one. Okay, we haven't done any work on that whatsoever. You can see the difference there. Now we can move on to the next stage. You're quite happy to leave at that stage and say, yeah, your Baxter boot is polished, and a lot of people do, and there's nothing wrong with that because it is. We're going with the next stage, is step 3. So we actually use a patent leather polish. So what we'll do is apply that by using our on cloth and off cloth. And I'm just going to, in this instance, just apply it for the time being onto the actual toe cap. So what we do here is we just work it in and then we let it dry. Now when it dries, it dries like a streak, and in some cases it can dry to a white sort of milky substance, but that's fine because we're just going to buff it off anyway. So what I'll do now is I'll just apply a little bit more, and then I'll bring you back for the buff off. Right, so back, I've just applied the patent leather dedicated polish to the toe cap of this boot. You can see that it's dried to like a film or a streak. So what I'll do is buff it out now. And the reason why we use a patent leather dedicated polish is what it can do is the areas of use around your boot. You can see where this one's starting to crack. So the application of the patent leather polish can provide some suppleness to your leather as it works its way through the top coating onto the bottom, and it can prevent that cracking from occurring. Also include some hints at the end of the video on the slideshow, some other hints to care for your boot, because patent leather, once you've cracked them, that's it there. You can't bring that back. The use of the patent leather polish as well, it's got a pigment inside of it, so if you have a little scratch on any part of your shoe, you can use the pigment inside that. Once you rub it in, will actually start to fill that in. It will be less noticeable than using any other technique that I've shown you. So we'll go through and buff off that polish that we've just applied. Just using our off polish cloth. And you can see it comes off, and it comes up to a really nice shine. So in this instance, just used it on the toe of the boot. Now I think out of all of the applications that we've gone through, just using the Windex, then onto the furniture polish, and then onto the patent leather, this actually brings up a much better shine. So you'd go through and do the whole boot in that manner. So there we go. From here, you'll be taken on to the concluding slides. Make sure you care for your Baxter patent leather shoes. The big tip is then, if you're not going to look after them properly, they will deteriorate and they will crack and they'll become very unsightly. So take them off. If you're not going to use them on parade, don't wear them to dining in nights. They're just going to get wrecked. Just use them for the parade. 4, 3, 2, 1. You'll never have the sacred stone. Oh, this you crazy mother.